All right, and as we are back, we're gonna take a quick break, and we are to Penny versus Kemba. All right, so I like to hear this one, and let's start with Ray.
Dang it. I go Penny on this one, and just for me personally, I mean, maybe it isn't too close. I, again, my memory is a little foggy, but Penny was one of those dudes who maybe wasn't as healthy as he could have been his whole career, and had he been, maybe his numbers look better, maybe things turn out a little differently. But in terms of raw talent, I think he is ahead of many people on this list, and I'm going to advance him in this matchup partly because of that.
Tyler?
Yeah, I'm with Ray there. I definitely would go with Penny Hardaway, and kind of like what he was saying. I think when you look at his numbers and kind of the latter half of his career where he was getting injured and he was battling through those injuries, I think it's kind of deceiving as to how good of a player he was. So I'm going with Penny.
So this one, once again, Penny was one of my favorite players, but he sulked when things didn't go his way, and him and Shaq had a hard time getting along. And this one I fight with. I'd like to not pick this one, but like I said, Penny was special. Kemba hasn't won anything yet. I know that he changed the Celtics team, so I'm very indifferent. But if I had to pick one, I would pick Penny. But it's a lot closer because I just felt like if you watch the 30-30 with the Magic, he there were some things that he could have done a lot better, and I hope that he's doing better as a coach. But over this matchup, Kemba hasn't done enough for me to not pick Penny. Mark, what do you think?
I'm with you 100%. Everything you said, I'm going to back up. Penny gets this one.
All right, which means we've got Russell Westbrook versus Ben Simmons. And let's go, Tyler.
Yeah, so I got to go Russ. I'm sticking with what I'd said before, that if I could run with anyone in the league, it'd be with Russ. So, Ben Simmons you look at a guy like that, and he obviously gives you so much, but just because of my personal opinion and the love I have for Russ, I'm going with Russell Westbrook.
Mark.
In this one, wait, where are we at? I lost them.
Russ and Ben.
I got Ben on this one. And okay, so again, I get it, all the things that I love about Russ, but I have argued this since Durant was still there. I watched them blow what I thought it should have been run to the finals a couple times. I saw Kevin Durant having phenomenal games. And in the fourth quarter, here's the thing, for anybody that's a shooter, and I'm a point guard, so I see it both ways. I like to shoot too, when I learned how to shoot off of screens my later years of college, which I didn't necessarily the year I came and played with you. But when you come off of a screen and you're in stride and you give that target, if you catch at the right time and place, bam, it's just – now when you catch and you stand there and it doesn't come, two more dribbles happen, then you get it. Now you're like well, – and then you go one-on-one and so on. And I felt like that was the fourth quarter of every game with watching Russ and Kevin. The Oklahoma City Thunder is better right now with Chris Paul running that team than when Russ was running that team. And I think that Russ is, again, another phenomenal athlete, talent, competitor, doesn't shoot the ball extremely well, but doesn't know it. That's if he understood, I can't shoot threes, I'm not going to just jack threes off. I'm not James Harden. But those are my issues. He's that guy that I'm amazed by watching, but I would not want to play with because I just think it's going to be hard to find a rhythm. I'm going to stand and watch him dribble and do all these, and I'm going to suddenly not play as hard defensively. I'm going to stand on offense because I'm not going to get the ball when I think so. I can't go with Russ any further.
Going into this tournament, I would have said Russ because once again he's one of my favorite players. But as I thought about the tournament, thought about, my favorite player all time, Magic, and what he did, that's what Ben does. He just can change the game. And defensively, he's such a nightmare. He has great instincts. Leadership, it's to be determined. But gosh, I just, I've got, for some reason, I've got to pick Ben Simmons on this. I just think that what he's doing right now and what he's capable of, and as the coach in me is taking Ben more over Russ, more than anything on this one. So, Ray?
Well, I wish you wouldn't have saved me for last, but that's okay. I
did that
agree
for a
with
reason.
Tyler, to be honest with you.
What's
Sure.
that?
Thank you.
Tyler?
Yeah, I mean, pretty much everything Tyler had said, I agree with, and those are my beliefs also. Maybe it's more my heart. I mentioned in the first round, Russell Westbrook is, one of my favorite modern day basketball players. And the argument for Ben Simmons, with the matchup problems and things like that, I don't disagree with those. And Mark and Ryan, you both have way more knowledge than me and way more NBA knowledge than me. So I would lean on you, and I'd be the first to say that I'm probably wrong in doing this, but I pick Russ in this matchup.
All right, we're 2-2 in a big one here.
Yep.
Tyler, did we sway you at all?
I mean, I'm gonna stick with Russ, but kind of like what Ray was saying. You all have coached before, and you're obviously still coaching, and so you see things through kind of a different lens, through a different perspective than I do as someone that's never coached before. So maybe if I had those experiences, I'd pick Ben Simmons, but my heart is still with Russ, so I'm still leaning towards Russ.
This one's a tough one. I don't know. Like last time we went with the better seed. Mark, anything else to add?
I would like to ask how much of this might have to do with, again, like the career, the stats, those 2 seasons, the triple doubles.
That's a lot for me.
Okay, and if you watched enough of that year, the Oklahoma City Thunder, that team was not competing to win and be an excellent team. You watch clips of his rebounds. How many times did you see his guys blocking out, back up like this so Russ could grab it? Big guys, if he played with Dennis Rodman, and we want to win, I rebound, I'm not giving you that rebound. And do you think they did it because either A, they all as a team said, okay, we're just going to be okay, let's let Russ get his, or Russ is like, hey, I'm about to make history, you're going to let me get these rebounds because Russ is like that. And how much of it is that? I think he's a stat chaser. I don't think he's about team. And when I'm talking about a point guard, again, as a coach, as a player, my problem with high usage percentage, period, is if you're part of a great team, there is no great team in NBA history or any level that has one player with this ridiculous usage percentage. I mean, Mike didn't have it. Mike had it, but it didn't beat AI, Russ, James, all these guys. Mike's a better player, but he was willing to do what? Not early in his career. His highest usage percentage were before they started winning. Then he realized, well, Steve can shoot. I'm going to pass the ball to Steve. How many big shots did John Paxson? How many shots did Pax hit in the fourth quarter of their first championship? And Mike was delivering a lot of those passes. He recognized, okay, they're going to draw. I'm going to trust my teammates. Russell Westbrook doesn't trust his teammates. Kevin Durant was a better basketball player than him, but he'd rather take a big shot even though Kevin was a better shooter. And that's selfish to me, especially if you're the guy with the ball in your hands. I'm all for taking a big shot if I can knock it down. But if I know I have a better shooter over here and we're about to win it, we need this to win a game, I'm not going to dribble down and pull the three when I know I got picked over here. I'm going to draw and kick to him. Mm-hmm. Russ has never done that. He doesn't get his guys in rhythm. And those are the things that drive me crazy about him. And again, his competitive nature, all those things I love. But we're talking about better point guard to run your team to take you to what? It's stats or a championship. And I haven't seen it from him. And nobody has. We've seen great games and explosive numbers. but runs stopped short by bad decision making and poor shot taking. And that person is not running my team. There's my soapbox.
Yeah, like Tyler sort of hinted at, I would completely, lean on you guys and sort of weight your vote. So I have no problem with Ben Simmons moving on. And admittedly, I haven't seen a lot of Ben Simmons play. And yes, a lot of my bias is, on the stats and the triple doubles. And, your argument is true. He's a me first guy. I get that, and so I have no problem moving Ben Simmons on.
I hope you don't. Yeah, it was 2-2. That's why I wanted, when we do this, that's why I wanted the fifth, so we didn't have ties. But
yeah, right.
I just thank you for trying. I just, like I said, if you're leaning on us as being coaches, then I'm going to move Ben Simmons on that one. So
yeah, I would say too. I have no problems with Ben Simmons moving forward, but I'll flip on sometimes in the mornings. I'll flip on First Take and I'll watch Stephen A. and Max Kellerman kind of go back and forth. And I think Mark just had one of the best takes I've ever heard in my life. So because of that, you know what? I've rooted against him the past 2 years. I will come to his side, and I will change mine to Ben Simmons because of that was an unbelievable take and one of the best I've ever heard.
Thank you. And I want to say, since you mentioned that, I've been wanting to argue with Stephen A. every time they talk about him. I seriously get upset. Not upset personally, but I'm like, you get paid too much to be wrong about this.
Listen,
Let's make that go viral.
Mark, you may know more people, but we need to get this out and people get on our YouTube page. And because I think what we do here is awful good. And, as we start doing our research, this is our dream to do this kind of stuff, and that's why we call it Gym Teacher Dreams. And this, this is pretty cool. So, anyway,
I got some ideas for you that, as far as to help maybe boost it. Let's talk off camera later.
Let's do it.
Awesome. Mike Bibby, John Stockton. Anyone got anything for Bibby to beat Stockton?
Nope. Stockton.
All right.
Stockton.
I'll be right back.
Yeah.
I need a charger.
Okay. What are we? This Elite Eight?
Do we? I don't know.
Are we still in the Sweet 16?
Moving to the Elite Eight?
Yeah, I think we're Elite Eight.
Is there like another side of the bracket, or is that the whole thing?
This whole thing.
So these winners will go to the Elite Eight, right?
So 64-32.
64-32.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So moving on here, Mark's back. How about we've talked a lot about Mark Price and what he does, but what he does go against Magic Johnson? Anyone have an argument that says, you know what, I'm going to take a stand that Mark Price can beat Magic Johnson? On.
No.
Yes. All right. Jay Will. Isaiah Thomas. Ray, start this one off.
Jason Williams is my Cinderella story here. You've heard it in round 1 and round 2. I just can't bring myself to vote for Isaiah Thomas. You guys have made some good arguments. I'm not going to do it, especially in this matchup. I love Jason Williams and his style of play. It doesn't translate into championships or anything like that, but he's fun to watch. He's my guy here.
All right. Mark.
Isaiah. I can't go against. Love Jason Williams, but no. Isaiah still. Again, you know how I feel about him.
Tyler?
Yeah, I'm going Isaiah as well.
Yes, I am too. So.
Nick, the way that you love Hoop Dreams, when you think Isaiah Thomas, does part of your brain go to Hoop Dreams and Arthur Agee, who loved Isaiah?
No, but it should. No. But I just, I picked him because he's better. Not that, but I have a hard time with Isaiah. That's kind of like, but he's good. But I just said he didn't put butterflies in my belly. All right, Steve Nash and Chris Paul.
That's fair.
Tight one here. This should be interesting. I'm going to start with Tyler. All right, Steve Nash, Chris Paul.
So I'm actually going to go Chris Paul. I've grown up watching Chris Paul a lot more than I did watching Steve Nash. I know that Steve Nash has got two MVPs on his resume. I think a lot of people could argue that maybe one of them was, I believe, stolen from Kobe, or a lot of people thought that was Kobe's MVP. Maybe that's a debate for another time. But just watching Chris Paul and what he does offensively and defensively, and how he makes everyone around him better. I know Steve Nash was very similar and did a lot of this same things that Chris Paul did, but I'm gonna go Chris Paul.
Ray.
I'm Steve Nash in this one. You know, again, I don't know if I said it in round 2 or maybe I said it about a different one of these point guards, but in my brain, when I think point guard, Steve Nash is one of those guys that pops up just in what he does, you know, even, you know, his physique in some way, you know, it just speaks point guard to me for whatever reason.
I'm gonna go Steve Nash also. I mean, I think that you know, he was one of those guys that, you know, kind of changed the way people played with his you know, off foot, his layups and what he did. He was fearless. I mean, he was a leader, and so, you know, actually the toughness. I'm willing to go at people. So I was a big Steve Nash fan, so I went with Steve Nash. Mark, what do you? I know it's 3-0, but anything to add?
No, just Steve Nash, what he did as far as if you just look at career numbers of people that played with him while at Phoenix and then got big deals to go someplace else and never put up numbers the same as they did in Phoenix. Part of it, the system, but Steve Nash ran the system. He made people better. That's what I want from a point guard.
All right. Mark, Damon Lillard, J Kidd.
J Kidd.
2 words. Tyler.
Yeah, J Kidd.
Ray.
Jason Kidd.
Yeah. Iverson and Hardaway. Ray.
Well, this would be an interesting matchup, but I like AI in this one.
Mark.
I'm going to be the one that does this, but I'm still taking Tim Hardaway over AI to run point guard for my team. What I would love to do is put Ben Simmons at point and AI at the 2. So then I got all that taken care of. But just the ball dominant part of AI, I think you watched, and like I said with Kyrie earlier, that 76ers team was so fun to watch. I loved them, but you have arguably one of the top dominant defensive centers and shot blockers ever with Dikembe. You had great role players that can knock down some open shots, but all were willing passers just to give it to AI to shoot 30 shots in a night. And if, again, we're talking about, if I'm talking about a dynamic player to run a team and I'll build around AI. But if I'm looking for just a point guard to carry, run my team, it has to stop here. And we said it last week. AI is one of my favorite players ever. I loved watching him. He competed, but Tim Hardaway is going to run my team before AI.
Tyler.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with AI. You know, part of me when I think of AI, I think of him running the 2 and him kind of playing off ball. I know he had really good years when he was running the 2. So sometimes I struggle to think of him as a point guard, but you know, if I were to put him in that point guard role, I'd still take AI.
So I would take AI myself, but you know, that brings up a good point, Tyler. And even I know Mark, you talked about it. Should AI be off this point guard list? You know, in terms of this tournament, as I move on, if I make it again, you know, and have someone else here. What do you think? I know we kind of talked about it. You know, this is a point guard. We picked AI, but he was better off. There were probably, Eric Snow had the ball, but in the end, I picked AI one. I think, guys like playing with him and the toughness that he showed, and what he did for that team. But yeah, what do you guys think? AI off the point guard tournament?
That'd be fun. Take AI, put him at a 2 guard, and we can move, like, say, a LeBron into a point guard competition. Maybe even a Scotty. I don't know. But
All right. All right. Tony Parker and the glove. Mark, this one, what do you think on this one?
Gary Payton's got this. Again, love Tony Parker, but this is where it stops with me. Gary Payton, better defender than most ever, but great leader, fearless, tough, great passer. I love Gary Payton. He wins this one.
Tyler?
Yeah, I agree with Mark. I'm going Gary Payton.
Ray?
Agree. Gary Payton. Yep.
Yes, sir.
You're like Tony Parker to a point, but
Right. Is that it? Nope. All right. Steph Curry, Penny Hardaway. Does anyone have anything to say that Penny Hardaway beats Steph Curry in this matchup?
I don't.
no.
I don't either. So Steph Curry moves on. How about, we talked a lot about Ben Simmons is one of the most talked about guy here. Can he defeat John Stockton? Tyler, anything to say that? Or unless you are Ben Simmons?
No, I still got to go with John Stockton here.
Ray?
Agreed. I mentioned it with Steve Nash, but if you look up point guard in the dictionary, I think it has a picture of John Stockton. So I'm moving John Stockton on.
Mark, I know you agree with that also.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Johnny Stockton. All the way on that one. I think that's it, right? Yep. All right. Back to the top for the final four. Magic. Wow. I didn't even put this together that way. Magic versus Isaiah. Ray. I already know yours. Magic.
Yep. 100%.
Tyler.
Yep. Magic.
Mark.
Yeah. Magic.
Yes, sir. Magic Johnson. Moving on.
Tyler, I'm just going to say while Pick is clicking buttons, it's good to have you back on. Your second show on the Gym Teacher Dreams podcast got dumped for whatever reason. So just in the back of my mind, I always wanted to have you on again. So I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I'm glad you guys extended the invite. It feels good to be back and to see you guys again. This is, doing this is a lot of fun.
Executive producer made a tough decision on that one there, Tyler, with that second episode. All right. And anyway, Tyler, you're going to we got to keep moving. We got to finish this, but I got something for you once too here. Steve Nash, Jason Kidd. this one, who went? Let's go. I'll start this one. I'm going Steve Nash. J Kidd, got better shooting the ball at the end of his career a little bit. Both of them, could get up and down. Both of them showed good leadership. But Steve Nash, to me, I would take him over J Kidd to be the point guard of my team. So Steve Nash is my choice. Ray?
I think I go Steve Nash, but this is a tough matchup. Probably, if not the toughest, second to the one we debated so long a little while ago. But I am anxious to hear what the other fellas have to say. But I go Steve Nash in this one.
Tyler?
So I'm going to go Jason Kidd. And the only reason I'm going to go Jason Kidd is because I had Chris Paul beating Steve Nash. So I feel like I'd kind of contradict myself and take a whole different angle on this if I chose Steve Nash. So I'm going to go with Mr. Triple Double, Jason Kidd.
Mark?
All right. I'm going with Jason Kidd. I was hoping, Tyler, you would do that. Thank you. I think that this one's tough. Again, love Steve Nash. Made everybody better, but Jason Kidd did too. He was 6'4". He was a better defender. I think playmaking wise, it's probably pretty even. Again, there's things about Nash that I think were really special with that, including, you know, the whole term that we now all know as probing the paint, where I think Steve Nash started that, driving through the lane and, you know, either stopping, hesitating, or going all the way through just to draw and then finding cutters. And now you see Steph do that all the time. Steve Nash was one of the first people I saw do that with that kind of ability to make people better. But if I'm going to factor in the fact that Jason Kidd's a better defender, I think became a better three-point threat, and defensively is going to be better. And rebounding, I'm going to go with Jason Kidd.
Now, like in my mind, here's what I'm thinking, and again, I'm leaning on, you know, I no disrespect, Tyler, but I lean on Pick and Mark here. Just I feel like they are, you know, more NBA sound than me for sure, and I don't know where your heart is, and that's why I left you out. But no disrespect.
No, I agree.
I feel like Steve Nash, maybe his awesomeness, his greatness was a little bit higher than Jason Kidd's, but Jason Kidd's goodness lasted longer than Steve Nash's window. Like, that's the recollection I have in my brain. Am I way off with that?
Steve Nash played for a while. You know, he played with the Lakers there towards the end of his career. I think. I don't know who played the longest. I can be swayed towards J. Kidd. This one was a very tough matchup. You know, my heart picked Steve Nash. I think both of them are great, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But I could be swayed to J. Kidd just for the simple fact that he was a better defender, because the rest of it, they're pretty close to being identical. So, Ray, what do you think? You and I were
I could almost always be swayed, and I have a feeling no matter who advances here, they're losing next round. So I'm okay with Jason Kidd moving on.
All right. So J. Kidd will move on. But that's a good one to have there. All right, down the bottom. AI in the glove. Tyler.
Yeah, I'm going Gary Payton with this one. You know, AI, as we talked about, had really good seasons. You know, some of his more notable ones at shooting guard, but what Gary Payton did defensively, and, you know, what he's remembered as champion, I'm going Gary Payton.
I'm going Gary Payton also. There's for sure. I just think, yeah, he's just better in terms of being a point guard. Mark?
Hey, I had Tim Hardaway being AI, so Gary Payton.
Ray?
Again, under the umbrella of point guard, I'm moving Gary Payton on. He's one of a few people, you know, I mentioned it about Steve Nash. Jason Kidd falls under that. I mentioned Stockton. Gary Payton is like point guard in my brain. Great. He moves on.
All right. This one should be fun also. Steph Curry, John Stockton. I'll start. I'm the one talking now. Gosh darn it. Maybe I shouldn't, but I want John Stockton. I just think I'm going to pick John Stockton. He's the leader. I know in end of the game, I want the ball in his hand. He's going to come off a pick and roll, and he's going to find or do the right thing. Steph Curry's a great player, but there's not much to say against him. Both of them are fierce competitors at their physical attributes. But I'm going John Stockton. Mark, what do you got?
I'm going with Steph on this one. Again, I love John Stockton. I can't argue with anything you said. I think that Steph's ability, his court vision and passing ability is underrated, because I don't think it gets talked about because of how he shoots it. He, as great of a shooter as he is, he's also, look at what he's done in his career as far as being unselfish. You know, he was cool with Kevin coming and Kevin taking more shots and I'll take less and I just want to win. He'll do whatever his role requires. His handles, to me, again, whose handles are better? Steph Curry, when I talked about Kyrie probably having the best handles I've seen in the league, I think Steph is right behind him. I don't think Stockton's overall handles were great, and I mean phenomenal, but we're on a different level right now, the way ball handling's evolved and what they're able to do with the ball. And I think that Steph, you take that with Steph and his ability to make you guard him from 40 feet. You combine those things again with his ability to be, he's undoubtedly questionable as a leader. You know, nobody ever says, oh, Steph's selfish or he acts like this. Steph just seems to be the guy that we all have met through the screen. That he's this guy that loves his teammates, loves what he does, treats everybody pretty well. Yes, he's great, so he probably has an ego like anybody that's good at something, but he keeps it in check. And that little bit difference, the handles, the shot, I'm going to take Steph.
Ray?
Could be interesting. I picked Stockton. You know, again, the things that Mark had said, you know, I'm not going to argue with any of those. And I mean, when you get to this point in the tournament, they're toss-ups a lot of times. But and it gets tricky when you're comparing different eras too. You know, and Mark hinted at that. I'm Stockton in this, and I mentioned it last round how when you think point guard, when I think point guard, there's just you know, a few that fit that a little bit better than some others, and John Stockton's one of them. Like, you know, the Last Dance it highlighted it. It might have been the first episode or whatever. Whenever they talked about the Jazz and that stuff, or maybe it's a different video I'm thinking of. But just what a competitor he was and how good he was, and it was kind of overlooked and overshadowed. So I picked John Stockton in this one.
Tyler?
Yeah, so
we're going to go 2-2 here, but go ahead.
I have a feeling.
Tyler, I'm looking at you. Tyler, I'm staring at you. Come on.
it's hard to bet against someone that's already a Hall of Famer and leads and you know, career assists and career steals, but I got to go Steph Curry. You know, he revolutionized the modern era with his outside game, and you know, he's a 3-time champion, 2-time league MVP. I got to go with Steph. And you know, interestingly enough, the thing that amazes me about John Stockton, and I might be incorrect, so correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe he missed all 19 years that he played.
That could be right.
Is that correct? And
What'd you say? You kind of.
So I believe John Stockton made the playoffs in all 19 years that he played. And I could be wrong on that, but you know, if you're trying to measure greatness, I think that Steph Curry's greatness far exceeds what John Stockton did. You know, he never came away with the championship, and I know that you know, Michael stood in his way a lot of the time, and you know, they met in the finals twice, and Michael, obviously no one's going to beat Michael in the finals, but you know, John Stockton was running with a guy like Karl Malone, and you know, he still couldn't get it done. So you know, to me, it comes down to their greatness, and I think that a guy that's gotten it done 3 times like Steph Curry, you know, I can't go against that.
Dang, Ray. You know, once again, we're 2 gym teachers, and we got a physical education teacher and a college coach here, man. I don't know. I can't articulate any better saying why John Stockton over Curry. So what do you got?
I don't have a ton of knowledge, but I think Tyler kind of proved one of our points. If it is true, and I bet you're right. Every year of his career, he went to the playoffs. I mean, I think that speaks to some of his greatness. And Tyler, you were talking about, you know, being on a team with Karl Malone. You know, the Bulls were way better of a team. They were constructed way better. So I think the Bulls are comparable to the Warriors, you know, the present day Warriors in that sense, where, you know, that not a lot of people can hold a candle to the construction of the Warriors currently. So again, Michael Jordan stood in Stockton's way. You know, if the team's constructed a little bit differently, maybe if they have a third person on that team, you know, like a Rodman type or whatever, you know, maybe they go a little further. Maybe they win it. Maybe they win a couple of them. So I don't know. And then again, whether it was The Last Dance or a different video, you know, in my mind growing up, I always thought Karl Malone was like the top dog on the Jazz. But in that series with the Bulls, it ended up being Stockton who was getting the steals and deflections and scoring points, whether it was driving to the hoop or hitting a big 3-pointer. And it kind of opened my eyes to, whoa, maybe Stockton was the head honcho on those Jazz teams. So I don't know. For those reasons, that's why I don't know. I don't want to say real strong, but stronger than the previous arguments. I feel like John Stockton advances here.
Well, if I go in between, because that's
my
where
argument.
after hearing both of you, Steph Curry's going to move on. I love them both. I love Steph Curry. I love what he does. So if I go neutral here, Steph Curry's going to move on, and we're going to be
Doing the neutron dance, Coach.
Is that?
Then I don't even get to make my argument.
All right, what do you got? You got a minute.
I just wanted to say that I do think that Stockton made it there, that the Jazz made it all those years, but the power was in the East back then, not in the West, and it was easier at that point to make the playoffs in the West throughout that period. I just thought that mattered. If you were going to go with Stockton pick,
I know. I just that one's tough. I did. So that's where we need. Coach Hale would have been Stockton all the way.
Oh gosh, yeah.
Well, guys, we've got to go one more here. Were you good to finish it? We might as well, but we've got to.
We got to finish it.
We're 3 hours here talking ball, man.
The next one won't take long. Let's knock it out.
All right.